Hey, how you doing, guys? For this week's topic, we're actually going to look at a viewer's comment to one of my videos, putting Mac OS Mojave on a unsupported MacBook Air. And thanks to GeoMan, by the way. Not making fun of you because of this comment, but it's actually a very good topic, so I'm putting that on there. So let's take a look what he says. He says the main reason for a new OS X release every year is to boost sales by forcing customers to buy new Macs. And he goes on to say new changes in Mac OS could be a patch like Windows. I'm guessing he means Windows 10, which is kind of like a rolling release. They're keeping Windows 10 name, and they're simply continuously adding updates and new features without a major release every year. Something similar with some versions of Ubuntu, like I believe, Ubuntu Linux, excuse me, is a more of a rolling release rather than a major upgrade every year. But anyway, I'm going to kind of go into that and my thoughts on planned obsolescence. I can't say that word too well. And now, this has been said a lot about tech companies. Of course, this can apply to really any product, that they tend to have planned obsolescence or even built-in obsolescence, which means basically where the product is eventually can't be updated or simply fails and you have to buy a new one. Of course, this has to do with Apple's putting out a new operating system release, and unsupported Macs simply don't get it anymore. And now, actually, this comes in lieu of a recent development in which they slowed down performance on some old iPhones, unsupported iPhones, and they slowed it down due to degrading batteries, which normally happen to batteries over long periods of time. They don't necessarily recharge to 100%. They may actually go down to about 80% or lower. And then I guess to compensate, they simply slow down the device, which I don't agree with at all. In fact, they should let their users, they're doing this and give them a choice. And I believe that's why they came out with low power mode that we see on the new iOS update. Now, looking on the flip coin of this as well, the planned obsolescence seems to be mostly for the people who always want the latest and greatest. And often they'll buy what they consider a new Apple device, and then all of a sudden they secretly release a new update, and they feel like they're all upset because now they don't have the latest greatest anymore, and like their older device simply stops working, which is kind of a ridiculous argument, at least for me. I think it is. Because it'll continue to work and work for many years after that. And I think also another reason why people think it's planned obsolescence is because Murphy's Law, which states something like the amount of transistors and processors in computer chips doubles every year or something like that. I don't know if I got the exact definition down. Now, in recent years, that's kind of almost slowed down to a crawl because Moore's Law doesn't seem to be applying anymore. In fact, with Intel, we don't see any really much faster processors like it used to be every year. And in fact, there are only little bumps as far as processor speed and other things, and small improvements. And in fact, they had to actually go to more cores to compensate. And then now even with computers, they go into using a more powerful GPU for processing than just the CPU alone. So you could see how the tech industry is trying to compensate for the slowdown in the Moore's Law. And of course, Apple's use of special screws such as Torx or even Pentalobe to prevent the user to go in there and maybe update. Some people say they do that so you won't update it. I think it's due to might possibly avoiding the warranty, because having people that don't have much knowledge or think they have a lot of knowledge go in there with a screwdriver, open it up, break it, and turn it in for a warranty is usually not good for the company that has to repair it. So I think it keeps out the the average person, unless they're particularly knowledgeable, then yeah, maybe they could open it up, which is fine. And also, a complaint with a lot of customers is the merit of new adapters they're coming out with in newer technologies, such as the 30 pin for instance for the iPhones and iPads. Then it went to the Lightning cable, and now it's going to USB-C. And a lot of people are complaining about it because they need new adapters, which I understand. Of course, some of the adapters can be quite expensive. But if you look at the, give an example on the PC side with USB standard, that actually has 13 different plugs in different pins. So as you can see, it's not necessarily just with Apple, but just as the standard changes, especially miniaturization, something gets smaller, or you're trying to reduce the size and make it thinner or whatever, then you have to come out with maybe new technology or something like that as well. Of course, they have gone into built-in batteries for their keyboards and Magic Mice, something I'm not very happy about either, especially their Magic Mouse, because while it's plugged in for recharging, you can't use it at all. They should actually put it on the end of the Magic Mouse rather than the bottom. I don't know why they did that. I think that was a stupid mistake on their part. And Apple tends to make their Mac computers obsolete or vintage right around the 7-year mark. And they'll simply stop supporting it either through AppleCare or new operating system updates like iOS or Mac OS. Now, there could be 7 reasons why they do this. Possibly the slower hardware can't keep up with new technology and new software standards. That could be one. And trying to update Mac OS, or even iOS for that matter, on every piece of hardware that they came out with can make it very bloated and can cause problems like crashing, slow down performance a whole lot. And we kind of see this with Windows operating system. Now, Windows is really different because they have a lot of business users, so obviously they need to support it over a much longer period of time, by decades. Of course, they finally stopped supporting Windows XP, which I think is finally a good choice. Even some of the systems I worked on at work actually had Windows XP on it. Of course, now it becomes an issue of, if you don't upgrade the operating system, it's going to have security flaws and security breaches due to hackers. So I can see how extremely old computers not being updated with the least security updates. Now, looking on the mobile side, and I'm talking about tablets and phones, and of course with Apple, it's iPhones and iPads, it's a lot different because, in fact, they have a much longer support cycle with new software updates for iOS than even Android or any other mobile operating system. In fact, you'd be very lucky, even on a flagship Android phone, to get more than a few years updates or upgrades, where iOS has even went into I don't know, 7 years, 8 years or something, very old mobile devices. So, and well, in a nutshell, in the end, I don't think it's necessarily planned obsolescence to force users to upgrade, because the device continues to usually work long after it gets supported. Of course, there could be issues, but that's perhaps for another video. And in fact, I think trying to support really old hardware would actually cost them money, because this all takes and possibly slow down performance as well, because then you'd have to get a lot of new developers and other issues to get around it. All right, thanks for watching, and see you guys later.